Today, we are going to talk about something kind of weird. We're going to take a really common fear and flip it completely on its head. What if that constant anxiety you have about being judged wasn't a prison at all? What if it was actually the key to unlocking your greatest freedom? Yeah, let's dive into that.
I want you to be honest with yourself for a second. Think about that new project, that wild idea, that one thing you've been dying to try but just haven't. Why not? For so many of us, it boils down to that fear. You know, from the time we're kids, we're basically trained to look for approval. But what if that very instinct is the thing that's holding you back?
You know that feeling? Like you're always on a stage and everyone's watching and everyone's got an opinion? It can feel like a prison, one that we literally build for ourselves, brick by brick. And it's a place where every single move we make is measured against what other people might think. This whole prison is fueled by a couple of really basic fears.
First up, the big one, the fear of failure. And it's not just about not succeeding. It's the crippling worry about how people will judge us for it. We stop taking chances because we imagine this huge, critical audience just waiting for us to mess up.
And that ties right into its close cousin, the fear of embarrassment. You know that feeling, that hot in the face, sinking stomach feeling of looking foolish? That's what stops us from trying a new hobby or speaking up in a meeting. We're terrified of standing out in what our brain tells us is the wrong way.
And to round it all out, there's that deep, primal fear of rejection. We are wired to want to belong, so we conform. We hide the parts of us that are different or weird to avoid being disapproved of. But here's the most important question. What if this entire prison, this whole thing, is built on a complete misunderstanding of how the world actually works? Well, it turns out there's a name for this. It's a well-documented psychological glitch that pretty much all of us have. It's called the spotlight effect. And once you understand it, it's like finding the key to your own prison cell.
So here's the illusion we're all living in. We feel like there's a giant spotlight following us around, lighting up every little flaw, every mistake. In the famous study that actually defined this, students had to wear an embarrassing t-shirt into a classroom. They guessed that about half the people in the room noticed it. The reality? Less than a quarter. Why? Because everyone else is the star of their own movie, too busy worrying about the spotlight they think is on them to pay that much attention to you. And this is the honest-to-goodness truth, the one that can set you free. Everyone is the main character in their own story. They are completely wrapped up in their own worries, their own deadlines, their own insecurities. They just don't have the time or the energy to be a full-time audience for your life. So, once you really, truly let that sink in, something amazing starts to happen. That harsh-sounding truth, that nobody is really paying that much attention to you, it stops being scary, and it turns into this incredible feeling of liberation.
Now, I know this statement might sting a little bit at first. It kind of pokes at our ego, right? We're all taught to think we're the center of the universe, but just sit with it for a second. Because what's on the other side of that sting is where the real power is. And that's it. That's the source of your power. Being unobserved, being ignored, it's not a bad thing. It is the ultimate freedom. It's like you've been given a backstage pass to your own life, and you're finally free from the pressure of performing for an audience that was never really there to begin with. So what does this freedom actually look like? Well, it means you're free from that exhausting, never-ending need to impress everyone. You're free from that paralyzing fear of what they might think. And maybe best of all, you're finally free from the absolutely impossible pressure to be perfect. When you start to embrace this freedom, it's like you unlock these hidden superpowers. And the first one, maybe the most important one, is that you get to look at failure in a completely new way. See, when you realize no one's really watching that closely, failure stops being this big, public humiliation. It becomes what it was always supposed to be, a private lesson, just a data point, a stepping stone. You can try something, fall on your face, learn from it, and get back up again without the world ending.
This shift is really the core difference between an insecure mindset and a truly confident one. An insecure person is always looking outside themselves for validation. They're outsourcing their self-worth. But a confident person, they take control. They validate themselves because they know their value isn't something that's decided by a popular vote.
Okay, so this all sounds great, right? But how do we actually do it? How do we make this a real part of our lives and start living on our own terms? Let's break it down into a really simple, practical framework.
All right, step one is just awareness.
Just start to notice when your brain goes down that rabbit hole of what will they think? Don't beat yourself up, just see it happening. Step 2 is action. This is the big one. Intentionally do some of those things you've been avoiding because you're scared. Start small. Wear the bold outfit. Ask the dumb question in the meeting. And finally, step 3 is to shift your focus. Take all that energy you were spending on worrying about other people and pour it back into yourself. Your own growth, your own goals, your own path.
And a huge part of this whole journey is accepting one simple but powerful truth. Not everyone is going to like you, and that is perfectly okay. Trying to please everybody is a game you will always lose, and you'll lose yourself in the process. The second you truly accept that some people will judge you no matter what you do, their opinion suddenly loses its power over you.
So that brings us here to the final, most exciting question. Once you embrace this idea that you're basically invisible, once you're free from that imaginary audience, the possibilities are endless. You're free to try, free to fail, free to learn, and free to become who you actually want to be. So the stage is empty. The audience is gone. What are you going to create?